I've worked on transfers for 30 years, you know, so it is likely to happen, but any moment, any minutes, things can break down. That's how the transfer market is. So as long as it's not over the line, you have to accept that it can as well not happen. It's never, these kind of things are never guaranteed.
In terms of Sanchez, you said that he wouldn't go unless you found a replacement for him. Would that replacement be Mkhitaryan, or would you still be looking?
Look, this would be an exchange of players, and I think one would replace the other. And are we still on the transfer market after that? Yes. I wouldn't like to come out on the numbers because that's Man United problem. If they want to come out with the numbers they offer to Sanchez. I respect Man United because they generate the money, they pay to the players by their own with their own resources. So you have to respect that, and after that, it's down to them to know how much they want to give to the player. But overall, Manchester United is a club very well managed financially, and of course as well on the pitch. So that's why I don't have any problem with the money they pay.
As you're watching that, I'm watching that, and the face of John Cross,
I'm watching it. Very stern, wasn't it?
Who knows full well what's coming.
Yes. Well, it wouldn't be Friday if we didn't talk to John about Arsenal.
What will we do, guys? Honestly, when Arsene Wenger eventually goes in about 2026, what will we talk about? It's just amazing.
To be fair, we're going to struggle. Can you update us, John? What happens?
Oh, well, I think the reality is now that it is so far down the line. I do think it is definitely going to happen. I think there's been posturing and posing this week, heavy negotiations, tough negotiations. We know that Mino Raiola is one of the toughest agents and toughest nuts to crack in the business, and by all accounts, he certainly lived up to that reputation this week in his negotiations with Arsenal. But I fully expect Mkhitaryan to join Arsenal, with Sanchez going to Manchester United. It is, I would say, close to a straight swap from what I gather. People might be sort of shocked by that, but you have to remember that Sanchez has got 6 months left on his contract. Mkhitaryan has got 2.5 with a 1-year option, so effectively 3.5. Sanchez, you know, is gold, isn't he? He's dynamite, and I guess it's difficult to compare those two players. Sanchez also going to United with an incredible contract, in excess of £400,000 a week, huge signing on fee, huge commission for the agent. And that will get done. Obviously we're running out of time now. It won't get done for 12 noon, but I do still think it will happen today and be confirmed today. Either way now, before 12, neither of them can play tomorrow, so I guess the rush is off. But my hunch is it will be confirmed later. Still not absolutely guaranteed on that. But we are closing into the final stages of it happening now.
John,
both sides absolutely resigned to it happening.
Has anybody warned Manchester United what it is that they are buying? And when I say that, I reference the piece you wrote this week about the diva that is Alexis Sanchez.
Well, I think that when you buy a superstar, you always guaranteed, in my mind and in my experience, a bit of diva activity, really. It's very, very, very rare that you get a superstar who's completely without any side to him, without any attitude, without any demands, without anything else. And Sanchez this season has been a particularly difficult character. Even before this season, he was always difficult to manage. He doesn't like being substituted. I mean, there's a great story that I tried to sort of say in the piece. You know, this was sort of last season actually, but basically he was subbed with 10 minutes to go, and he was so annoyed by this. But by the time the rest of the team got back into the dressing room, Sanchez had showered, changed, and cleared off. He was in such a huff about being subbed. He doesn't basically fit in with the group. He really doesn't. And listen, a lot of the players are fine with that, and they say that he's great, you know. But there's another group of players who think that basically he is all about him, and it's all him in for himself, and he's not a team player, and that has upset the group. And he can be a difficult player to manage. I think if you can get the best out of him, then any manager will tell you at his best, Sanchez, and for me that is playing down the middle, by the way, he's very much a central forward when he's at his best in my book, then he'll be worth the effort. But he is a very difficult character to manage. And it'll be interesting to see how he fits in at Man United with that attitude, with that superstar logo, and also earning about £200,000, if you believe everything that you read, that basically earning more than anyone else in the same dressing room. That in itself might cause a bit of unrest, I would say, and unbalance things a little bit as well.
Hang on, John. Andy's got a question for you, but I have to come in there. What do you mean? You're a sports writer. How can you use the phrase, if you believe everything you read?
Oh, no. I mean, basically, I just feel that... No. I feel that, basically, I think that Sanchez will go in at £400,000 a week, with loads and loads of add-ons. And you're almost like taking your pick out of... And to be honest with you, some of the figures have varied, is what I mean. And so we've had variation on a theme, really. And I just feel that, basically, if you go to the top end, the absolute top end, in terms of wages and in terms of commission, in terms of signing on fee, I think that's what Alexis Sanchez will get, because I just think he is earning now as a transfer with 6 months left on his contract. Then basically he's earning now, what he will get now is what he would have got as a free agent. Correct. In the summer, when traditionally you earn more as the free agent, you get the bigger signing on fee, you get the bigger wages. So I do think you basically everything you read about sort of Sanchez and the earnings and then some is probably close to the mark, is what I mean, because Man United don't make any mistake about this, they have paid through the nose to steal him away from Manchester City, a club which I was completely convinced he was joining and that he was going to. And Man United have paid arguably over the odds at this stage of the market to get their man.
Well, they'll be hoping they get the same reaction, John, from another player that they stole, another ex-Arsenal player that they stole off Manchester City. Robin van Persie, because they won the title the year after that. Quickly, just on Aubameyang, you're going to get Mkhitaryan, it looks like, John. Are you going to get Aubameyang?
Yeah, I would say there's a really good chance, Andy, because I think that the sort of talks and negotiations are going on about it. Arsene Wenger certainly wouldn't, in the past, he's always stood up for Giroud, and when I asked him yesterday about Giroud and potentially Giroud definitely staying, which I fully expected him to, basically sort of stay with, then he didn't actually offer those sort of assurances. And it's my understanding that Dortmund have asked about Giroud in those conversations, which of course have never taken place if you believe Michael Zorc, the sporting director of Dortmund. There's a bit of posturing going on there. And what I would say about is Aubameyang, that Arsenal are very, very hopeful. There are negotiations underway, but I think that will go to the final days of the window. I think that will be a longer, protracted one, even though there's a will on all sides, I think, player and both clubs, to get the deal done at the right price and at the right deal.
John, a yes or no on Mourinho, because plenty this week to talk to you about. Is he going to sign an extension at Manchester United?
Yes.
Okay.
I do think he will.
And have Chelsea got a problem, like Barca and Real Madrid had, having flouted the rules of signing under 18-year-olds?
Well, it is an amazing story, and massive credit to my journalistic colleague David Heitner in The Guardian. It's a really interesting read. You would say that reading and picking through it all, the Guardian themselves are suggesting the sort of the threat hanging over this could be a double window ban, and so it will be interesting to see how they take on it. Chelsea's standpoint recently has been, well, it's not, it's not as severe, and they're obviously pleading their innocence and sort of mitigating circumstances. But it'll be really interesting to see, and I think a few of these sort of continental clubs will be saying, well, hang on a minute, if we are banned and if we are treated this way, what about the English clubs? Time you treated them the same. So I do think it really leaves them with a big dilemma, I think.
John, a story that jumped out at me this week was one with Peter Crouch. Are we really serious? Are Chelsea really in for, what, a 36-year-old centre-forward?
Well, I just think it shows the desperation, but yes, I gather that they really are. I mean, also, what is interesting to me is, guys, sometimes, it's interesting to sort of see the people associated with it. And I'm not suggesting they've got inside information, but they're just very well connected. My colleague Darren Lewis, who's sort of very good on his sort of Chelsea transfer stories, and also in the Telegraph, it was interesting to note that Sam Wallace, who did a brilliant biography with Peter Crouch, was the first name on the Telegraph story saying that Chelsea are interested. Well, you know, I'll leave you to draw your own conclusions. But in my experience, if you've got good contacts, you generally check out the story first with those good contacts before you put your name to it, especially if it's someone that you like and know well. I think it's tantamount. It's interesting with Carroll. People I sort of know and trust say that basically West Ham would have, blimey, they probably would have driven
they would have.
sort of Andy Carroll to Chelsea if they'd had the opportunity. So, you know, at this stage, I have to say there's so many people involved in so many different deals, whether it's being a chief executive, a chief scout, a manager, or several different agents. There's so many people trying to put different players into different clubs at the moment. But let's see how it works out. Because, look, the reports out of Italy are suggesting that Edin Dzeko is now a Chelsea target as well. Dzeko surely appeals more to most Chelsea fans.
Yeah.
But if they can't get him, then I do think that Peter Crouch is someone that Chelsea are indeed considering.
Wow.
John, if you're off to Chelsea today, if they're seriously interested in Peter Crouch, tell them I'm put myself in the middle of a deal to take Andy Gray to
Thank you, I'm
Bridge.
there, John. I've been working out hard this Christmas.
I really don't see the difference, to be honest with you.
Boy, I'd get more goals than Crouchy for a start.
Still a better header of the ball.
Correct.
That's for sure.
John, thanks as ever. We'll see you next week.
Look forward to it.
John Cross,
Thanks, John.
chief football writer at the Daily Mail. Why not? Crouchy, come on. What are they thinking?
Well, I don't know.